And then I'm going to go to my YouTube here. All right, seems like we are live. Just give it a few minutes.
Sure. So you think anyone joining us as well?
I don't know if anybody will be joining. I didn't announce this one, but it seems like
Okay.
one person is watching.
Hmm.
So we are live, yes, and I can see you as well. So, but I can't hear you. Okay, that's fine. Can you say something, Vlad?
Hi, Neil.
Hi, Vlad. Hey, I'm so excited to have you. And, we are going to be conducting live training on Thursday. So I'm so excited to have you there. I think my mind has been going crazy with the ideas for how we can start to use Python and where we can take it with all the stuff that's coming up in marketing data,
Mhm.
right? With Google announcing big changes recently, where you can take that data and really pass it on to um, BigQuery. So I'm really excited about that, having that level of data, because it was previously it was very difficult to get that level of data.
Mhm.
You had to use a third party tool. It was kind of clunky. Plus you had to have, like, it fit to marketing analyst or digital analyst. It felt like, hey, something out of their comfort zone. But
Yeah.
now Google making an announcement saying direct integration of Google Analytics 4 into BigQuery makes it
Mhm.
really, really great. So I think this is where I'm excited, and I'm glad you are joining and giving us your wisdom and teaching everybody to do Python, right?
Yeah.
So I have a few questions for you.
Sure.
First, why don't you tell about yourself, who you are, to the Thursday's class?
Sorry, Anil. Something was lagging in the connection. I wonder if you could repeat, please.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Sorry.
I was saying, why don't you tell everybody about yourself, who you are, and why they should be learning from you? I know you have tons of
Yeah.
experience. I know
Mm.
you've done lots of classes and you conduct lots of classes. This is for my audience who are not familiar with you.
Mhm.
And so give us a brief intro who you are and why they should be looking forward to, and we'll get to that, why they
Yeah.
should be looking forward to the class on Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Anil. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here on your YouTube channel. And to briefly introduce myself, so I'm a data scientist. I'm also a trainer. So I do both things. I do consult as a data scientist, and I provide training courses for actually that are targeting data analysts. Okay, so
Yeah.
what I teach is the tools that someone might actually want to use in order to conduct advanced data analysis. And when I say advanced, I usually mean that analysis that is based on predictive modeling and also on building machine learning algorithms uh,
Yeah.
so that they can predict and explain the data. And when I say predict, it means that not just predict the future, but actually predict and understand what is happening within the system.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think uh, you know one of the things that has been missing from digital analysts arsenal has been this predictive element. Generally they are doing the rear view mirror kind of analysis.
Mhm.
Hey, something happened, and what happened, they go into Google Analytics and they start looking at and finding issues, right? That's very reactive kind of analysis. So
Yeah.
either something bad happened and they have to conduct analysis, or they are basically trying to improve something and they're trying to figure out what will drive it. Not really very predictive in that sense, like what are the factors that will drive users to take action, right? And like I said earlier, I am very excited about having Google Analytics for data in BigQuery. Now you can have user properties, event properties,
Mhm.
all those things. And if you think about how many properties you can have, That's a very rich set of data to do predictive analytics. And I
Yeah.
think that's what I'm very excited about. You know what I'm going to do is actually also let my Facebook group know that we are live
Hmm.
here. And if
Sure.
somebody
Yeah.
wants to join, why not? You know, they want to learn who their instructor is.
Yeah.
So okay, give me a minute here. While I'm doing this, why don't you answer and tell me some of the examples of using Python for marketing
Yeah.
analytics?
So let me start with this. So Python, when we say Python in as it applies to data analysis, data analytics, and the work of data analysts, marketing analysts, and to the same extent, probably also financial risk analysts, we don't really want to learn Python coding, right? We are not learning programming in Python for software development. We are learning programming for data analysis, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, why do we want to learn an advanced tool? Okay. Imagine that as a traditional analyst, you are working with a certain data set and you are using a lot of your own intuition or your common sense experience, you call it whatever it is, right? Your expert's opinion. So you look at the data and you process the data cognitively, right? So the key part here is you process the data cognitively and you have tools to help you with it. You can plot, for example, you can do like descriptive statistical analysis, but everything is happening in your head as an analyst, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you look at the data, and by looking, I mean you of course you help yourself explore the data and understand it, you know, in every possible cross section, and then you make a call, right? What is the story behind the data? So the
Yeah.
thing is, there is an objective need to organize this work and make it more programmatic and more reproducible. First of all, we are working with huge data sets these days. Even 10, 15 years ago, we were working with smaller data sets. We had the luxury to, you know, look at the spreadsheet and make a call just by what you are seeing. Now you're working with terabytes and petabytes of data. There is, I mean, safe to say there is no way you can process every aspects of the data cognitively.
Mm-hmm.
You can catch a big picture, maybe you can focus on some details, but there is no guarantee that you'll be able to detect patterns in your data just by doing a cognitive analysis or applying cognitive analysis to it. This is where it leads me to the kind of the thought that we need to learn about predictive algorithms and predictive modeling so
Yeah.
that the machine helps us to discover, you know, patterns and insights ultimately in your data. So this is why we are looking for some tool, and we are choosing Python for a number of reasons. So Python is very popular and it's really a tool of choice
Mm-hmm.
for analysts, for data scientists these days. So we can also use other tools. There is, for example, R. There are tools where you have to pay for a license, but Python seems like an ideal kind of sweet spot because it's really great for analysis. It has lots of libraries, and it's not like it has them, but the libraries are growing as we speak,
Yeah.
right? So they're snowballing. I remember like 10 years ago, not 10, maybe 5 years ago, even R would be a language of choice because they had a lot more libraries than Python. R was designed for statistical analysis. Now Python is actually starting to, you know, starting winning over R in terms of the how comprehensive it is in coverage.
Yeah.
So,
And yeah, that's one of the things that I have noticed over. Oh, you're mute.
oh, I'm mute.
Oh, I can't. I don't know what you were saying. Oh, I think it's fine. That's fine, I think. Maybe it was something with my speaker.
No, I think I should
But
be.
yeah, what I was saying is that's something that I noticed as well. You know, R was the choice or the
Yeah,
language of choice, but now Python, more and more organizations are using Python. I have my students who took my classes and we were talking about R, and then they are now telling me like they are using more Python at their workplace. So I think, and then Python, you know, it's a multi-purpose language. So
exactly. Yeah,
yeah, and then so learning this here does not mean you have to become a data scientist, right?
yeah.
You can do bunch of other stuff with Python as well. So that's great. Now, one thing I talked to you in past is there is this no code machine learning programs out
Hmm.
there. These are new breed of tools which are saying, hey,
Yeah.
put the data, and then we'll actually come up with an algorithm to tell you,
Mhm.
predictive outcomes, whether somebody is going to churn, somebody is going to click on an email, or somebody's
Mhm.
going to buy, etc. What's your view on those?
Yeah, so there are tools around, and there are actually pre-coded models, if you will, that the supplier or the vendor will give them to an analyst and invite the analyst to feed their own data into the model and obtain predictions.
Hmm.
So those tools are coming from even such suppliers as IBM and Google,
Yeah,
right? So those are really great tools for anyone to get started with predictive modeling, because they don't really, you don't have to understand predictive modeling, as long as you understand that you are feeding new data and you obtain predictions on the data, right? That's
correct.
all. So
Yeah,
you are given a black box, and the black box does the work for you.
yeah,
So now, as you start getting into this process, right, as you start using these black box tools, you will start realizing, so perhaps they are too generic. So they are trained on, right? How do you get a machine learning model? You have to train it on certain data set, right? I mean, there's
hmm,
no other way.
yeah,
So what is that data set that they
yeah,
use to train the model? How relevant is it to your own data? It could be relevant.
correct.
For example, if your application is facial recognition, right?
Hmm.
So you have a model trained on, a multitude of human faces, and that model will probably be very helpful. Or generally speaking, image analysis models, provided that the model has seen relevant examples, because machine learning is all about learning from examples and then making a generalization.
Correct. Yeah.
Now your application becomes too specific, right, or too specialized, or too different from these models or what the data used for these models. This is where you are going to start hitting limitations, and you will
Hmm.
realize that, well, I need something more customizable, right?
Yeah.
So this is where you would go to more open source tools, or generally speaking, more of lower level tools where you need to write some kind of a
Really.
code.
Yeah.
Now, by the
Yeah.
way, yeah, Python actually lets you kind of, I shouldn't say bypass, but Python actually gives you an opportunity to write code at a still very high level. So you can create a linear regression model in one line of code, right? And then
Oh, really?
test the
Okay.
model in the next line of code.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's it makes it a lot like R, right?
Yeah.
Why is R so such a beloved language for analysts? Because they don't have to write code, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is,
The-
I think, very useful for digital analysts, right? So for
yeah.
them, they are not coders, or they are
Right.
not, and they want to shy away from, like,
Hmm.
whenever coding comes, they are freaking out. So let's say if it's Google Analytics data in BigQuery,
Hmm.
and you can just write one line of code to do regression analysis to at
Yeah.
least find more than what they are currently finding,
Hmm.
right? That's going to be very useful, in my opinion. And you don't have to become like expert in a Python. Is
No.
need to know, like, hey, these are my use cases and this is how I can do it. If
Hmm.
that's what they do it, even if they are within the organization or freelancers, think about how much value, more value, they're going to
Yeah.
provide by this. So that's one of the reasons, like, I'm excited, because
Mhm.
you know it's something. Nobody wants to be a programmer. If there isn't an easy way where you can just apply the use apply something out of box for a use case, works, right?
Yeah.
So so
Yeah. It seems
that's
like
that's
we
pretty
are.
awesome.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Go
yeah, I
ahead. Go
mean,
ahead.
again, just want to say with Python, we are kind of hitting this sweet spot where you don't have to be a low-level software engineer fashion programmer, right?
Hmm.
Because you're working with languages like C++ or even Java, then you have to write a lot. It doesn't really have the right libraries. But
Yeah.
Python actually has a lot of analytics libraries. That makes it very useful. But also another thing that kind of eliminates another kind of aspect of the fear factor when you're just starting is that Python actually is a lot more intuitive as a language, generally speaking. So if you speak English, then you are
You speak
it's
Python.
well, not immediately, but it's going to be easier to learn Python because it uses a lot of natural language,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
in its
Yeah.
code.
And I think another aspect that you hit earlier, which I want to touch on, is when you said the data, it you need the training data, right? What kind of
Yeah.
data? I think having this knowledge, let's say, even if in an organization, somebody else is doing the data analysis at that level, right?
Hmm.
Writing the models and stuff, Python developer, digital analysts can think about what data will make sense,
Hmm.
right? Because their job is to figure out, hey, they know what data is Google Analytics collecting or their email system is collecting or CRM is collecting, right? So they know what data they need to put to give it for training, right? Is the data clean, right? If data is not clean, you're not going to get anything meaningful out of it. And also, is this the right kind of data? What kind of things I need to start measuring in Google Analytics, you know, or Adobe Analytics, or pick whatever analytics tool you have. And
Right.
even if they're not dealing with like the website of things, the email system, CRM system, point of sale, whatever they're bringing, so I think that's an aspect which is more strategic in nature. What data
Right.
will make sense? What do
Hmm.
I need to collect, provide it, and then work with a Python developer. But once you
Hmm.
understand Python, how it works, and how predictive modeling works, that gives you a different perspective on things, right?
Yeah. Well, I absolutely agree with you. So the more you understand predictive modeling, the more leverage it gives you to make sure that you are logging right data, right?
Yeah.
For the algorithms, even if you after all, if you decide to hire someone to
Do
to
it.
write an
Yeah.
algorithm for you, but
Yeah.
you really need to be able to interface with this developer person, so that you are kind of
Yeah.
speaking, at least there isn't kind of a cross section of some kind of common language that you guys both speak, right?
Cool.
So
So
that's
I'm
that's why,
excited.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't want to cut you off, but
No,
finish
it's
your
fine.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just saying so excited about this because I think the more I talk to you, the more even like me who has been
Mhm.
dealing with this stuff, I get ideas. Okay, this is where we need to think about. This is where the digital analyst need to start thinking about stuff. So, can you tell a little bit about what people can expect on Thursday?
So I'll show basically a couple examples. First of all, I will talk about predictive modeling. And I'm coming from science and engineering. I'm not a computer scientist by training, right? So I might be actually speaking, if not the same, but a very similar language to business analysts or data analysts, because we both are trying to discover insight from data, right? so
Yeah,
so i'm
yeah,
going to i'm going to kind of first set the tone and explain why we need predictive modeling, right?
yeah.
What you can actually expect in terms of actual value that you get from
Correct.
predictive
Yeah,
modeling.
because
Like, being set aside all the cool words such as data science and cloud computing, but why do we actually, as marketing analysts, look into predictive modeling, and what is that we are going to discover when we
correct.
conduct predictive modeling? So I'll discuss that, and then I will actually show a couple of interesting examples where you will realize that you can predict some really practically important things. For example, the outcome of your email campaign. Okay, just based
Yeah,
on the parameter of, let's say, of the email message, or well, we'll see on Thursday what exactly is going to be. And also at the same time, predicting is important because this helps you kind of put your resources in the right direction. Essentially,
yeah.
this is why we need to predict for decision making. Also, you'll be able to discover what are the drivers for your email campaign to be successful. So what parameters you need to look at. And because this is going to be a generic example, you will also see how do I conduct my analysis so I can discover the right parameters, right?
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much. I think this is very useful. And I will put a link in the description of this video
Hmm.
so that people can register for Thursday's free class. It's free, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to miss out on, even if you take away like one or two things
Mhm.
from the whole session, that'll take your learning to the next level, your imagination of what's possible with the data that you already have.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Vlad. And this has been wonderful. I am now going to end this session and I will see you on Thursday at
Great. Thank you.
10:30 a.m. PDT is when we will start.
Yeah, or 1:30 Eastern for those
1:30 Eastern.
from
Yeah,
my
there are
part of the
people.
world.
Actually, we have about 60, 70 signups, 70 signups
Hmm.
right now.
Great.
And I'm expecting those signups to go over 100 by the when everything is done now.
Hmm.
So we'll see a lot of those folks. Not everybody joins in the live session, but
Yeah.
whoever joins, they will get to ask you questions. So,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
all from all over the world. So it's whatever time zone they are in, they just converted from 10 a.m. 10:30 PDT, 1:30 EDT, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes. So, all right, cool. Thank
Yeah.
you very
Great.
much. I'll see
Thank
you
you,
on
Anil.
Thursday.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
see